Welcome to Tourism Talk. I'm your host, Mary Hammond, Director of the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau. My guest today is Jessica Byassee, and she is Director of Public Affairs at the National Quilt Museum.
Yes.
Now, welcome, Jessica.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, people may say, National Quilt Museum. I thought it was the Museum of the American Quilter Society, MAX.
Yes.
But this is something new that just happened this fall.
Actually, last May.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really something that had been in the works for even longer than that. Our executive director, May Louise Zumwalt, really worked hard on getting with the congressional congressmen and different people to get that passed.
Sure.
And we're just tickled to death.
The National Quilt Museum of the United States.
Yes.
Put us on the map.
Yes.
It really, as an attraction in Paducah, one of the cornerstones of Paducah, brings international visitors to us on a weekly basis.
Oh, definitely. It's something that I didn't even realize until we started working on the numbers and the figures. We have a sign-in book that people can sign in, who they are, where they're from, and any kind of comments that they want. And from that, we're able to take from month to month the different states that were represented in the different countries. And usually there's at least 45 to 50 different states represented. And in a year's time, we have about 20 different countries.
Wow. I've seen with the monthly statistics how many states in just 1 month are represented. And I mean, you can randomly pick a month and it would be like that.
Exactly.
Well, I know with our own advertising at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, when we did the conversion study, who answered our ads and gave us emails so we could correspond with them, send them newsletters. It was surprising to us. Something we didn't realize was the impact of quilting. Now, why we wouldn't realize that, duh.
Yeah.
But it made us realize it is not just during Quilt Show. And although today we're going to mostly talk about Quilt Show, quilting in Paducah is year-round, and people are here. You sell the Quilt Museum, yes, we still call it the Quilt Museum. You go to the marketplaces like Fowler Black, American Bus Association. You've been to Bank Travel,
Yes.
and sell Paducah, and group tours come. But the individuals, it's amazing that it's every day that the groups of people, groups of friends, husbands and wives.
Yeah.
A lot of people going back and forth to Florida.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. We get a lot of people, we call them snowbirds, that are going back from Wisconsin, Minnesota, down to Florida. But, it's even your casual travelers that, even whenever I'm out, that, we want to go somewhere different, somewhere, a little bit off the beaten path. And that's what Paducah and the Quilt Museum offer.
Well, and having that national designation will bring people who weren't sure how big of a museum it is, 30,000 square feet, weren't sure, was it just a few quilts?
Yeah.
But this truly is preserving the art of quilting.
It is, and that's something that people don't realize is that there are other quilt museums out there that people can select from, but they primarily come to us because we're the largest with the largest display space, and we also offer everything else that Paducah has to offer as well.
It's art. It's fiber art.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to you on our way over here that I had been looking at an art magazine, which in the first few pages, no less than 3 times was quilting mentioned.
Yeah.
So it truly is an art.
Yes.
And this ties us into Lower Town, and having Carol Fowler to move to Paducah, one of the top 30 quilters in the world, only 3-time winner of the Quilt Show.
Yes.
Quilting a Day, Eleanor Burns, having her here in Paducah, not to mention our own Quilters Alley and Hancock Fabrics. I mean, we are so fortunate.
Yeah.
And I loved it here recently where we had the bus tour come, and they were quilters, not competitive quilters, just quilters.
Yeah.
And they stayed 3 nights and did classes in 4 different locations.
Yeah.
They did one with you all, and even did a regular art class. That was fun with Wild Hair Studio.
It is. It's great that we're able to give them something at different places as well as the museum. And something else that's great about coming to the museum is that our exhibits change, usually about every 3 months. So even if they come, at one point of the year, they can come back that same year and see something different.
Except those favorites.
Oh, yes, exactly.
I mean, there are some, if they're not hanging, people are upset. They want to see those.
They are.
Well, since we primarily are going to talk about the month of April and preparations for Quilt Show. Let's kind of go over what the exhibits are that are there this month.
Yes. Well, right now we've got some really cool exhibits. During this time of year, we say it's our blockbuster exhibits that we've got. And something that's really new this year is that it's the 25th anniversary of the American Quilter Society show here in Paducah. And so we're going to have all 25 of the best of show quilts together in our main gallery.
So even there's been 1 or 2 quilts over the years that they chose not to take the prize money.
Yes.
And they're still going to have those
We're
quilts.
going to have those.
That's unheard of. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And they're going to, they've come out with a book of those 25 quilts, or that's going to be 25 this year.
Sure.
And so we're going to have a book signing during the week so that people can get that new book and then have some of the quilters that are featured in it sign it. So.
Well,
that's a lot of fun.
Of course, I love that. And over the years, the folks here in Paducah, we've actually learned to identify some of those quilters.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much can spot Carol Fallerts these days.
Oh, yes.
And I love that. And there are some others that that all of us amateurs out there have learned to identify and find. That's good. So you've got the Best of Show, 25 years of quilting excellence.
Yes.
Can't beat that.
No.
And then I always love the new quilts from an old favorite.
Isn't that fun? It is really cool. It's whenever we pick a traditional pattern, and it's a contest that quilters compete in, and they are challenged to put a new spin, a more modern art take to that traditional pattern. And this year it is I always mispronounce this, Burgoyne surrounding.
Burgoyne.
Yes.
Burgoyne surrounded.
Yes, and it actually has a really funny history to it that a lot of the traditional patterns are named after things that were common during the 1700s, 1800s, whenever quilting was really kind of early on in this country. And that was from a battle during the American Revolution.
Oh.
So it was kind of interesting little history.
Can you describe it at all? I mean, I mean, it's not like, you can say pinwheels or star points, and I mean, I do know some of those.
Yeah.
But is this something that we would recognize and just not know that it even had a name?
You probably would, actually. It is kind of a center square surrounded by other smaller squares that make up a block.
Okay.
And it is the name is taken from the battle during the American Revolution where, and I'm sorry, I forget, I think he may have been a French general, Burgoyne, and he was surrounded by the American army. So that's
we're
how
all the little squares.
Yes.
He's the big square.
Yeah.
Okay. But we brought down the big square.
Yes, exactly.
Well, he would have helped us. We won't go there. That's history. Okay.
Yeah.
We weren't history majors.
No.
Okay. And the miniature quilts. Oh, wow. Well, oh, wow is exactly right.
Yes.
Every time I see the miniature quilts, I'm like, oh, wow.
You just can't believe how much the tiny stitchings and different work that goes into those tiny pieces. And we've even got some magnifying glasses at the front desk for people that can really get in there and be able to see the work that goes into them.
And what are they? Would you say they're like 15?
Yeah.
12 by 15, something like that?
That's about average, and we do have a couple that are even a little bit smaller than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen some that are copies of the award-winning quilts by the same quilter, only miniature, and my gosh, they make the big quilts look a lot easier.
Yeah, it really is. And it's kind of funny to see kind of the stories that go behind the miniatures. I think sometimes they use that as kind of a drawing board for the bigger places.
No long arm quilting with that.
No. I don't think so.
Okay, we'll move on. Inspirations, let's see, new ones from Asia.
That is going to be really cool. That is, these quilts are only going to be seen all together in the United States at our museum.
Of course, it's the National Quilt Museum.
Of course. But they are from all different countries throughout Asia. I won't say all of them because I don't want to leave anyone out, but it's really going to be a fun time. And we've got some of the people, and the curator who is from Japan is going to be on hand during Quilt Show to kind of talk about the quilts and give a little bit of background on those.
Japan is known for their quilting and the skills of their quilters.
Yeah.
There are always so many Japanese visiting here.
It is.
And there's AQS has really formed a good relationship with Japan, and I know from some of the not World's Fair, but similar to a World's Fair that they would have, or there might be a big quilt show at a department store. That's really cool.
Yes,
Maybe
ma'am.
we'll get to go one day.
Yeah, and you know what's something that's kind of interesting with that is that quilting kind of, you know, really has a heritage here in the United States because we used it so much for warmth and utility so many years ago. But in some of these countries like Japan and Australia, it's newer, and so it's really taken on an art form because it has a whole different background. So it's interesting to see the exhibits.
And you can tell that when you look at them.
Yeah, you really can.
Although the American quilts have gotten so creative, but they're basically still
Yeah.
more than something to keep you warm, but that's the basic
exactly.
purpose.
Yeah.
Will there still be selections of the permanent collection?
We will. We will have plenty of room for those still
Cool.
mixed in with the top 25.
Let's kind of run over your hours. Any other week than Quilt Week?
Yes. Normally it is April through, year round. It's Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5. That's year round. And then April through October, we're also open Sundays from 1 to 5.
That's good. That's it. But then during Quilt Show, yeah, if it's daylight, you're pretty much open.
Yeah, yeah.
Starting that Sunday and Tuesday before the 19th and through the 21st.
Yes.
In preparation, people start coming to town.
We really
That's really
do.
my favorite. Kind of like going to the Derby the weekend
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
You know, the excitement's in the air. The stores are full. The museum's full.
It
All the
is.
merchandise is there.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. And then here comes Quilt Show, April 22nd through the 25th. And really it's 8 to 6, 8 to 7, 8 to 6. So all day, but you are open
All
early
day.
and late.
Yep.
The show itself closes at 5, so you're always open a couple of hours after that.
Yeah.
And then Sunday after the Quilt Show, because a lot of quilters stay, people who are watching this may have visitors staying with them in their homes, and they spend Saturday night, and then Sunday morning they want to get one more little dose of quilting before they get out of town, and they can go to the Quilt Museum at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing, and it's $8 for adults, $6 for seniors, and then unless you're with a group tour of over 15, that's
Yeah.
$5.
And then during Quilt Week, just Wednesday through Saturday through the Sunday, it's $6 for everybody.
Oh,
Yeah, so
during
it's even
Quilt
better.
Show, got a good deal going.
Yeah.
Just remember
right.
that if you've got visitors coming, and if you want to make a little goodie bag of brochures, Jessica will be glad to help you. She's got pretty brochures.
Yes.
Now this is,
Definitely.
what is her name? I remember her name. Oh, Philippa Naylor.
Naylor, yes.
And this little quilt was a best of show.
It is so cool. Yeah, it's
That's when she
really-
was living in the Middle East.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
cool. So there's a lot of events going on during the Quilt Show, not only at the Quilt Museum, but at the Quilt Show and over at the Carson Center.
Yes,
Let's kind of run through with those. I know your silent auction is a big deal,
yes,
but it changes. You've got
it does.
every day.
Every day. It's a 2-day event, and it'll end at the end each day. The items will go to the highest bidder. New items will be brought out the next day. And something that I'm pretty excited about this year is that we've got a new location for that silent auction, and I think it's going to be really good. We've got it in the Executive Inn in the old game room area.
Let's see. Okay, so if you're looking, if you're standing at the patio dining room, and they've cleared out where all the shops were, and that'll
Yes.
be where the quilters were, the quilt vendors who were at the pool and underneath the pool. So if you walk through the gallery, almost going into where the registration is, the old game room.
Yes.
Oh, that's a nice room.
It
That's a good
is,
size room.
Yeah, and there's pretty good wall space up above the
Yes.
door, so we're going to have big signs right there showing, National Quilt Museum silent auction, and people can just come on in and browse at their leisure.
And so that's Wednesday and Thursday all day.
Yes.
But then Thursday is also the live auction, which is always big fun.
Yes.
And that's over at the Carson Center.
That's new also this year. Yeah, we're going to have it at the Carson Center. It's always a ton of fun because we've got a great auctioneer that comes in, and he's just a hoot.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, and then you've got those assistants in the audience
Yes.
who are also a hoot.
Yes,
We
they
love Dale Perry.
Oh,
he
yeah.
is really a character when he gets out there.
He does. Yes, and it's your best place if you're, especially if area people are wanting to display the Paducah heritage of quilting in their offices or their homes. It's the best place to find quilts of all levels. If you want something spectacular by the leading names in the quilting industry, you can find them, as well as some of the smaller quilts that, not that anybody's any less or great, but you know, it's
Well,
all levels.
We've got quilts in my office that
Yeah.
are in the Visitors Bureau, and they're wall hangings. We have, instead of anything else in the walls, each person's got one. And they were from a quilt auction, not
Yeah.
this particular one, but one of your auctions, where you were able to get a good price by someone who has competed in one of the contests or one of the big name quilters.
Yes.
And the prices are all over the place,
Yeah.
and they're beautiful. Is this one of them that you've got right here?
It is. Isn't that great? I love the colors. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that would go in my office also.
And we'll have some that are a little bit smaller than that can hang on the
Sure.
wall, and then some bed size as well.
And things like scissors.
Scissors, yes.
Those antique scissors. I'll never forget. Was it last year when you and I stopped at the antique
Yeah.
shop and found a quilt and the antique scissors?
It
and,
is.
There's fabric. There's books. I see a big stack of books. Even one, Clay's quilt, Silas House, that Kentucky author.
And we'll also have quilting tools, like different
yes.
frames and rulers, and just a little bit of everything for everybody. We'll also have some great quality antique quilts
Sure.
that are great for the quilt collectors out there. Just really a little bit for everybody.
That's so. And then let's see. You've got activities at the Quilt Museum as well. You were talking about
Yes.
the signing for the top, the winners in the past 25
Yes.
years. Jim Shore.
Yeah.
Now I know everybody is going, Jim Shore. Who is that? I know
Yeah.
that name.
Yeah.
He's the gentleman who makes the carvings out of wood that all have quilts. I mean, I've got an angel and a snowman.
Yeah.
And Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
Because Jiminy Cricket's my favorite.
Yeah.
Let your conscience be your guide,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh,
Give
yeah.
a little whistle. But he incorporates quilts into all of his carvings, and they're fabulous.
He does. And even if it's not an actual quilt, the quilt design, the quilt patterns are in, you know, in the angel's dress.
He actually has a pattern. He has
Yeah.
he's not just somebody who's got squares on the dress.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really neat.
It's going to be really neat. We're going to have him at the museum all day Friday. We're going to have from 10 to noon and then 2 to 4. He'll be signing in the lobby. And we've just started carrying his items in the museum shop. So it works out perfectly. You can go to the shop and buy a piece and then have him sign it. And something that's going to be really fun is a benefit dinner that we're doing with him that night from 5 to 7. It is going to be at the Whalers Catch French Quarter. And I always call it the carriage house. So it just looks like a carriage house. Yeah. But we're going to have him there. And something fun is going to be that if you buy a piece in the shop and then and buy your dinner ticket, your name will be put into a drawing, and we'll draw those names. Those are the people that get to sit with him at the table at the dinner.
That's
So
fun.
you can have a little one-on-one discussion with them. And he'll also be talking about how he goes about with his designs and techniques. So,
I've seen him on QVC.
oh really? How fun! So you
Not
can-
pieces that you had. You know, he does pieces specifically for them.
Yeah.
That are mass.
Yeah.
But I'm anxious to see the pieces that you have at the Quilt Museum. What do you know? What pieces there are?
We're going to have a lot of quilt angels,
Okay.
angels, as well as cats.
Oh, yeah, I've
You
seen
know,
his cats and
yeah.
the snowman. His nativity is really cool.
Oh, I haven't seen
His
that one.
nativity set. Yeah, that's nice.
And something I should mention about that Friday night is that it's over at 7, so there's plenty of time to get between the French Quarter to Carson Center for Ricky Tim's event.
Oh, you can't miss Ricky Tim's.
No. So if you can definitely get both in during the night. So
What a neat person.
Yeah.
What a neat person.
yes.
Yeah, my mind's just going, thinking about both of them.
Everything,
Jim
yeah.
Shore and Ricky Tim's. That's
Yeah.
a pretty full evening, but you would feel really good
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
That's fun. And Ricky's music, if you see Ricky's music out, for sale anywhere, I don't know if the
Yeah.
Quilt Museum carries it.
We do. We have a couple of his CDs.
He is so
that's
good.
Yeah.
And his quilting is so good. And I think he's even gotten his father to quilt now.
Yeah, he has. And if you go on, I believe his website's rickytims.com, and he has 2 sections, one for his quilting and one for his music. And you can go in and hear some of his pieces. It's great.
But if you see him on stage, you get the stories
Yes,
and everything.
exactly.
He has that big Garth Brooks kind of black hat.
He does.
He's a cowboy.
Yeah.
He's
Really.
a cowboy. So you got the benefit dinner, and you can call the Quilt Museum. What is
Yes.
that? 442.
8856.
I have
we'll
one
get
other
you.
friend with the numbers close, and I never know who I'm going to get when I go
Yeah.
to call. But 442-8856.
Uh-huh.
And if you need tickets to any of this or have any questions, you want to get in the know before your friends get here in town. So I know a lot of people watching this have friends coming.
Yeah.
Come down and see. Come see you. You're there.
Yes, definitely. And the seating is limited for that dinner, so
Oh, I would
definitely need to
imagine.
get
It's a
your-
pretty intimate dinner. It's pretty intimate.
Yeah.
If somebody is catching this before, about the middle of the month, you've still got some Lincoln quilts up.
We do. We have them up, actually, I think through the end of about the 1st of April, about the 8th.
This has been a good bicentennial celebration for our whole country, and
Yes.
so much of it is here in Kentucky, Indiana, and Illinois. And I love it that the Quilt Museum was part of the bicentennial.
Yes.
That the symphony did the Lincoln piece. I mean, there's just
Oh,
so
it's
many
amazing.
ties in together and all of this, and I love it about our community
Yeah.
that it's just all works together.
It does.
Even to the point where the symphony worked with the Challenger Learning Center on the Planets concert. Do you remember
Yeah,
that? How
uh-huh.
how neat that was.
Yeah.
Or the Metropolitan Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
You need to work with them on some
Everything.
quilts too. Yeah.
That would be really cool, because we primarily, especially the quilts that we own, are all modern art quilts, but we do try to have some antique exhibits up throughout the year. And with this Lincoln event, that it was just a great tie-in for an antique exhibit.
Yes, very much so. So usually when you come into the Quilt Museum, there are 3 major galleries.
Yes.
And the center one will probably be where the top 25 are.
Yes.
And then you'll have one that's got the new quilts from an old favorite.
Uh-huh.
Are they all new, or are there any antique ones that show the old pattern?
We
Do you
will.
know?
The last couple of years we've started this, and this has been a big hit, is having the contest quilts, which are all new modern art quilts, in with antique quilts of the same design. So they'll be in there, and you can kind of see how quilters kind of got maybe their inspiration from those.
Well, they did, and so many
Yeah.
times there's a book to go with that
Yes.
that Collector Books has published.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh,
yes,
there is?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good.
Yes, and we'll be having a book signing of it as well on Friday. So the quilters that are the top 18 from that contest are in the book, and they'll be there in that gallery space signing their books.
So you've got a book on the new quilts from an old favorite, the
Yes.
Burgoyne,
Yes.
like
Right.
Burgoo.
Yes.
Burgoyne, okay. Top 25 quilts for the last 25 years of the Quilt Show.
Uh-huh.
What about the miniatures? Is there a book for the miniatures?
There is a book on the miniatures.
Not a
it's-
miniature book.
No, it is a little smaller than the normal, but no, it's and it's been out for a couple of years, but it's a good one to have. And we're going to have a new book just out. Hopefully, we're supposed to have it Monday of Quilt Week, so cutting it down to the wire. But it's going to be an updated version of all the quilts that we own.
Oh.
So it's going to be
And how many would you think that?
just over 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
But so many of them are resting in the vault.
Yes. A very secure, climate-controlled vault.
Well, and folks may not realize that it is climate controlled in
Yeah.
there, that the lighting, just like here at the studio, that everybody's watches the lights there.
Yeah.
You've got the light meter
Yeah.
and they check to see so the rays aren't harming the quilts.
Definitely.
And that would be why you can't take photos in there.
Can't take photos. That, as well as we don't own a lot of the photocopies,
Right,
of the
copyright.
copyrights of those. So it's just a lot of things that go into that, and you kind of have to watch, because even we've seen no cell phones in there now, because a lot of people are in there
Phones.
taking pictures with their phones. So of course you can take it in with your pocket, but just no talking or having it out.
And touching. And
And
it does
touching.
count. I've seen people with the edge of their brochure just tapping on that quilt.
Yes.
And you do that for 25 years, and all of a sudden there's going to be a little hole in that quilt.
Definitely.
And it's just hard in our hands.
Yes.
We just don't realize how dirty our hands are.
No,
I know.
no.
We're going to have to get one of those like hospitals have.
Yeah.
You
see that?
get on for your hands. We just have a few more minutes. Anything you'd like to add? I know there are good workshops at the happening, and there aren't any in April, but there are throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, we usually try to have about 8 to 10 workshops throughout the year, and these are great times to be able to bond with other quilters and learn from some of the top names in the industry, which most of these are the teachers are so wonderful at teaching that sometimes you're your usual day-to-day quilters are a little scared to take from them. Intimidated,
right.
yes. So, but they shouldn't be, because, you know, sometimes I see people come in that first day and they're nervous, you know, they'll be meeting the person, the teacher, but then by the end of that day, they're all best friends and just having a fun.
And empowered to make good quilts.
Exactly.
Make you experiment with color.
Yeah.
Gosh, well,
Definitely.
You've got some great names. If by chance you see some of the ads that the Convention and Visitors Bureau is doing right now, it's a cooperative program with the ad campaign with the
Yes.
Quilt Museum.
Mm-hmm.
We are using the quilts by these teachers in that ad.
Yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
the styles. And some of them, there's the whole cloth quilt that's
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's one color, it's one
Yeah.
piece, looks like my wall at home.
Yeah.
But the stitching really shows up. And then
It
there's
does.
the wild color. Actually, I see Ricky Timms is doing one in May.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
And
that'll
there's
be
still
fun.
space in that, so get
Oh, that would
signed
be
up.
fun.
Yeah.
And Diane Godinsky,
Yeah.
she's
always a
popular. She's
favorite.
doing two. She does a traditional one,
Uh-huh.
and the adventure continues.
Yes.
These are great names.
It is.
Please check out the Quilt Museum's website, and it is.
www.quiltmuseum.org.
You can do that, or if you type it into Google, it's the first thing that pops
Exactly.
up. But I know all these folks have got Paducah.travel bookmarked, and they can
Yeah.
easily find you from there.
Exactly.
We want you to be in the know. Paducah is known as Quilt City, USA during the Quilt Show every April when quilters make their annual visit here. My
Mhm.
friends are coming back from Florida.
Good.
So it's everybody. That's how it is.
Yeah.
If you've got that extra bedroom, they're coming to
Yeah.
visit. So make sure you're in the know,
Uh-huh.
and not just about the Quilt Museum. We want you to know what's happening in Paducah. So please go online, look at the events, the calendar of events, or you can click right on Quilt Show, actually, the button for Quilt Show, and you'll be surprised at what all the information is there. It'll have maps. It'll have all of the activities that are going on, not just the AQS activities, but the activities in town. And there are many complimentary activities going on.
Yeah.
We talked about, we didn't talk about it, but the Rotary Quilt Show, who's probably been going on, I'd say almost since the very beginning. It's probably been 23 years for the
Yeah.
Rotary Quilt Show at the Cherry Civic Center. And then also Grand Rivers and Mayfield and all the way around.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Even my hometown, Clinton, Kentucky, is having things.
Of
so,
course. Well,
yeah.
there's quilters everywhere, and they love Paducah, Western Kentucky, and let's all make
Yeah.
them welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Do your homework now. I want you to be informed when the Quilt Show gets here. If you see those quilters on the street, put your hand out and shake theirs. They love that Western Kentucky hospitality. We'll see you next time.